Welcome to Imprint, a podcast about creating a home and life you love. I'm Natalie Walton, an interior designer, stylist, and best-selling author focused on an holistic approach to homes. Each week, I'm sharing insights and interviews about the creative process to help you enhance both your interiors and well-being, as well as provide you with the tools and resources to make considered and sustainable choices with all that you create. Hello everyone and welcome to Imprint. I'm very grateful to have you here today. Yes, I still have a croaky voice. Hopefully it will be going very soon, but please persevere with me because I am really looking forward to sharing this episode. I know I say that a lot, but this one, it is as much as a reminder to myself as I hope it is to you. It's been fun and kind of also a bit nerve-wracking in some ways creating this outline for you today. But I trust that you're going to find it really valuable wherever you are on your journey. Because when I think back, it's now coming to 8 years since I launched my business Imprint House. I've been in business in one form or another for more than 20 years. And I've learned so much on my journey. It's coming up to 6 years since I launched my courses. I've launched my book, I don't know now, that was about 6 years ago as well. So I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And some lessons we have to learn over and over and over again. And some we get through one stage of our business and then we're presented with a new challenge or a new lesson to learn. And I know for me that when I first started my business, I had no plan. I just had an idea and I thought, I wanted to follow my heart and follow my dreams. And, I had a good amount of common sense. I'm quite a common sense kind of person, but I didn't really have practical hands-on business knowledge. And since then, I've really had to play catch up in many different areas. And I think that when you're starting out, you don't realize actually how much time you have on your hands and how much time you can put into the planning. Now, that is not to say you should just be planning, but you can be doing that in those early days. And as your business grows, yes, there are simplicities that come into that. But when you start managing teams and becoming a leader within your space, there are so many more responsibilities. And you will look back at those early days and think, wow, that was actually so easy in comparison. So in some regards, everything, there's different pros and cons to every single level. But what I want you to know is that when you get the foundations right, it's like with your home. If you get the foundations of like a renovation, and in terms of you get that timeless backdrop and you get those foundations right, you can change the rugs, you can change out your light fittings, you can change the cushions. It's really easy to do that, but you don't have to go and do a full-scale renovation. And so that's what I don't want for you. I don't want you to have to like overhaul your business. Now, some of you might be in that situation where it's like, okay, I've got to go back to basics with what I've got. It's not working. It's not serving me. It's not serving my life. And honestly, as I was going through this list, I thought, I bet as soon as I record this, I'm going to think of like 20 other things that I could have shared. And one thing that I will add just right now that I haven't got on my list is ultimately we start a business because often we have an idea or we have something on our heart or something within us that propels us forward to follow an idea. And that is a beautiful thing. But it's also important that we create a business that meets us where we're at in our life, in our season. And businesses grow and evolve, and so do we. And so sometimes our business has to change. Sometimes it needs to make different needs. And that certainly happened to me in my business. It has changed and evolved over the years. And while I'm in this season of having children and school-age children, I've built a business that is in alignment with that. So that would really be one of my biggest tips for you, even though it's not on my list, is to make sure that you're creating something that is in alignment with the type of life that you want to live. Otherwise, you'll end up hating your business. And we don't want that, because business can actually be fun. I know that sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but it can also be fun. Like you can have these creative ideas and follow your ideas and see where it takes you, and you can create things that you never thought were possible. It is such a growth journey, and it's so amazing. So I really hope that you're going to find this episode valuable, whether you're, dreaming of starting a business, maybe you're in the early days, or maybe you're at that point where it's like, okay, I need to refresh, I need to refocus, I need to really reconnect with why I'm doing this business and get back on track. So let's go through it, because like I said, I've got 10 ideas that I wanted to share with you, 10 lessons that I've learned on my journey, things that I wish that I'd known sooner. Because sometimes when we're starting business, we don't know what we don't know. I don't know if you've had that experience, but it's only in retrospect you kind of realize like, oh, I didn't really know that. I thought I knew it, or I didn't even know that I needed to know it. So that brings me to number one, and that is to step into your authentic power. So what do I mean by this? This idea of authentic power and being authentic ultimately means be you. Be unapologetically you. The more that you embrace who you are, what lights you up, what feels good for you, and what you want to do with your business and with your life, the more that you tap into that, the more that you will not only enjoy your business, but that your business will be successful. The more that I have stepped into who I am as a person, and the more I've stopped looking at what everyone else is doing out there and really shaped something that feels good for me and feels in alignment with who I am and what I want, the better. And I've learned this lesson in so many different areas of my life. I've learned it with creating books in terms of the types of books that I wanted to create. I've learned it in relation to my styling, and really embracing my signature style. And I've learned it in business as well. We can look at what other people are doing. And the truth is that we don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. I mean, as I'm recording this, someone who has, someone that I really respect in the industry and is really well known, and I'm sure many of you follow her, has just closed down part of her business. And we don't know, we can look at a business and think, wow, it's so amazing, all they're creating and such beautiful content, and what an amazing business, and they're killing it and they're doing so many amazing things. But we don't know what is happening behind closed doors. Unless you're having those conversations in those private communities where you get to learn what actually is happening behind closed doors. So that's why, we need to really do what feels good for us. The second big lesson, and oh my goodness, this one I really wish that I knew. Like nobody said this to me, nobody. And I know it sounds obvious because I didn't read business books or I didn't even listen to business. Well, there were no business podcasts. No, maybe there were some, but I certainly didn't know of business podcasts. And I just, I kind of went, I've got this idea and I thought, well, I looked in the marketplace at what was happening and I thought, I'm sure this is going to work. But I didn't do my research. I didn't do my due diligence. And it's so important to do that. So you need to know that there is a need in the market. And what do I mean by this? Is that we can have an idea, and I speak to people, on Instagram, friends, inside Design and Grow. Like I speak to so many different people in relation to this. And there has to be a need in the market for what you want to create. You can have something on your heart, you can have this dream, but ultimately, if there's not a need in the market, people are just not going to buy it. And you're going to end up with a hobby and not a business. So one thing that you can do is to really be clear on, are people coming to you to solve a problem? That's a really, really good starting point. What are your friends and family asking you about? What questions are you getting? And that is how you really use that as a litmus test for the type of business that you would do. I mean, that is why I started Design Grow. I kept having conversations with friends and they were asking me, how do I launch a course? And how do I do this? And how do I grow my email list? And how do I get, X, Y, and Z? And how do I, get more customers and more clients? And I was sharing what I was learning. And I thought,
I feel that there's many people out there that need to know this because I certainly didn't know it. So the third idea is kind of related to the second one. The third idea is to know and understand the whole picture of your business idea. Again, I think particularly as creatives, we can think, I want to sell my art, or, I want to take photos and sell photos, or, I want to do this, that, or the other, whatever it is for you. I want to make ceramics. And yeah, how beautiful. Yes, I want to make ceramics too. However, you need to know and understand the whole picture of your business idea. So what do I mean about that? So let's take the example of ceramics. Okay, so you like making ceramics. Fantastic, beautiful. And maybe you even enjoy, photographing them and adding them to your website. But there's so much more to it than that. There's the packing, there's the customer service. If you've got a bigger business, it might be dealing with customs. You might have to do stock take. You got to be, dealing with breakages. You might have to have a warehouse. If your business starts to grow rapidly, you got to warehouse your stock. So you got to be paying rent. Then you need to be like, are you going to be making it or are you going to be packing it? So then maybe you need to get someone in to help pack it, and then suddenly before you know it, your business starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you don't always end up doing the thing that you actually thought you wanted to be doing, or you get so far removed from it. Sometimes this happens in interior design is that, people, I hear this all the time of like interior designers get so far away from the actual creative process. Now, sometimes that's fine because sometimes those interior designers want to be more of a creative director. They don't want to be doing the CAD drawings or SketchUp drawings or literally measuring spaces and all of those things. They actually want to be more of a visionary in the business, but really know and understand the whole picture of your business. The accounts, doing the bookkeeping, the financial forecasting, your profit and loss statement, all of those things. It's all part of running a business, doing your BAS if you're in Australia, your business activity statement, your GST, claiming your GST, all of those things, tracking your business expenses, so know what's involved in all of it so that you really have a clear picture of what you're getting into. Number 4, focus on the person you're helping. If I get too much in my head about maybe showing up on social media or not knowing what to write in a caption or in an email, I really focus on the person that I'm helping. To be honest, I do this every single time I record one of these podcasts. I always want them to be valuable. I always want them to be helpful. And, when I'm speaking, I've got, a few bullet points here, but when I'm speaking, I'm thinking of you, you who's listening to this right now. I'm thinking of you who's listening, who, is eager to learn this and get some tips and advice and learn some lessons. And because I do that too, I'm listening to podcasts all the time too, because, I'm on a learning journey as well. So I'm always thinking of you. And, when I get too much in my head, particularly if I'm, worrying about what other people think, or sometimes I'm worrying about what my peers think, which is just ridiculous. You've got to create for your customer, not for your peers. And look, this is very much a work in progress. Sometimes I get really in my head about it and I have to pull myself out of that. And I have to think, no, there's someone out there who is really struggling with their business right now. And I actually feel guilty. I feel guilty if I'm not sharing the lessons that I learned. And I know there are lots of people out there who are running businesses who, don't share their stuff. And I sort of think I don't know, I just couldn't do it. I feel guilty to know things that I've learned and not to be sharing it. I think my gosh, there's someone's really suffering and struggling out there right now. Maybe that's you, maybe that was me a week ago. Maybe a week ago I needed to listen to this episode. Maybe a year ago, maybe 10 years ago. Often I'm speaking to myself 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So, really focus on the person that you're helping. Number 5, know your numbers. Oh my goodness. I can't believe that when I started Imprint House, for instance, I really had no sense of my numbers. I had no sense of, even like my stock on hand, or I had no sense on, what my margins were on my product, or I had no sense on, how much I needed to sell every week. Like I hadn't broken it down. You need to know how much money your business needs to make for you to make a living at the very, very least, and so you need to ask yourself that question. How much money do you want to make? I mean, people ask me like, how much should I charge? I mean, look, I can give you a guideline, and I've got a handbook for the Styling Masterclass. You can go to, it's nataliewalton.com/handbook, and I give you a price guide if you are in the interiors industry. It relates to styling mostly, but you can apply this to other kind of creative industries as well. And, but the truth is, how much do you want to charge? Because you can dictate the price that you charge. There really is no limit, and it's completely up to you. All right, number 6 relates to this, and that is to make data-driven decisions. So always look at the data to make your decisions. When it comes to, I need to get more leads. Okay, so how much time are you spending, trying to find new leads? How much time are you actively going out there and connecting with people? Or how many, people do you need to have on your email list to be able to convert them into a customer? You always need to be looking at the data. If you want to grow your Instagram feed, you need to look at the data of, what is performing well? The answer is in the data, always. And so you can do so many things in terms of when you look at the data. I'm looking at, I'm putting some questions together for a mentor of mine. And, I know that I need to dig some of my data up, and I, to be quite honest, I know that probably once I start to really dig, then I will have the answers in front of me, because the answers are in the data, in terms of, conversion rates and all of these different things that you really need to know in terms of how much profit, how much time are you spending on a project, in terms of how profitable was that project for you. You need to track your numbers, track your time. You need to know your numbers. So important. And also it makes us know that, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can do more of what is working. My tendency as a creative is like, let's go and create this new thing. And my husband says, look at the numbers for this product. It's doing so well. Just do more of that. So, I mean, you've really got to know your numbers. Okay. Number 7, find your people. It's really important to connect with others on a similar path to you. I found this to be so true when I went from working in a corporate office. It was for a newspaper, but it was very corporate. And I went from working in a very corporate office to then working in a creative office. And it was like, oh my gosh, these are my people. Like, it was such a relief, just in terms of my peers, my colleagues, to be connected with other people who are on a similar path. But then there was a point where many of the people I was working with, they were happy kind of doing their job, and that was it. They just wanted to do their job. And I always knew, like, within me, I wanted to do something else. I knew that I didn't want to just keep doing that for the rest of my life. And not to say that they have gone on to do that for the rest of their life, but I just always had this kind of like knowing within me that I wanted to do something else. And I was interviewing all these people on the newspaper, on the magazine, different types of creatives. I was interviewing artists and interior designers and ceramicists and all different types of people. People had shops and product designers and all sorts of things. And it was just, I loved talking to them so much. And then I started interviewing them for my blog, Daily Imprint. And when I would interview people and speak to the people on photo shoots, I am always amazed at how much you can learn from just having conversations with people. And, you can learn a lot from a podcast, and you can learn a lot from a book. But when you talk to somebody who's really honest and open in a kind of, behind closed doors kind of way. And they're really honest with you about like their struggles or their challenges or whatever it is, you can learn more in 15 minutes sometimes than you can from years of trial and error trying to work it out yourself. Sometimes somebody can just give you that one tip or that one like, oh yeah, we use this software program. And you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I knew this years ago. Or they can tell you this one piece of advice. And I was talking to somebody yesterday in Design and Grow, and we were talking about hiring. And she said, wow, and I just literally in 5 minutes, I told her how I hire people. And she was like, oh, wow, I've never had somebody explain it to me that thoroughly and yet simply before, and so the power of just having somebody really give you clear, honest communication about what's worked for them in their business or in their life. Collaborate as well is really important in terms of finding your people. Again, I didn't really realize I was doing this. This was one of those things that I was sort of doing, but I didn't realize I was doing, because what happened with me was I did my blog for about 5 years, nonstop, every day during the week. I did it Monday to Friday, and I was interviewing all these people, and then they would share the interview with, if they had a blog, or they would share it with people that they knew on Instagram or by email, or however they did it, they would share. And so from a very early point, I was, first of all, building up a newsletter that I was able to use, but also I was sort of extending my reach because they would share with their people. So when you collaborate in this way, and this still happens to me to this day with the podcast, I interview people, they share it with their audience, and the podcast grows, and my Instagram grows. So looking at ways that you can collaborate with people, it's such a powerful way to grow both your audience and your business. And then create community. Don't do this alone. And to be really honest, this is sometimes something that I struggle with because I am such an introvert. And I do find that the older I'm getting, the more of an introvert I'm becoming. And I really have to force myself to talk to people. Like if the phone rings, I get I look at it and think, oh, I really don't want to answer the phone. I really don't like talking to people. It's so terrible, given the fact that I used to interview people for a living on the phone all the time. But, and I can sometimes have that tendency to think I can just, do it myself. But I know that it is so much more powerful when you surround yourself with other people, when you create community around your interests or your passions, and you can grow so much faster when you do that. Number 8 is to work smarter, not harder. There are so many ways that you can do this. And honestly, it really is the key to releasing yourself of the time struggle that you might be experiencing, particularly if you've been in business for a while. I think that time is not always such the problem at the start, but as you get busier, then really learning to focus on what's most important, can be challenging. So batch work is really important. I batch work the podcast. That's why, a couple of episodes ago, I had a croaky voice, and I've still got a croaky voice. And probably the next episode and the next couple of episodes will be a croaky voice. And you'll think, how could she have had a croaky voice for 3 months? No, it won't be 3 months, but you see what I mean? I batch content. I do it with so many different areas of my life. I theme my days so that Thursdays are focused on the podcast. So I'm recording this on a Thursday. I'm often referencing Design and Grow the previous day because I do that on Wednesday. Tuesdays are for creative work, and Mondays are for meetings, and Fridays are for planning. So, I theme my days, and I find that really, really powerful for working smarter, not harder. I'm not context switching. We all know the studies. It takes 20 minutes to refocus when we're context switching, and it's such a waste of time. Other ways to work smarter, hiring others to help you. You've got to get the systems in place. Do that early. Trust me. Educating yourself is a way to work smarter, not harder. Getting a mentor. You don't have to do it all yourself. So those are just some of the ways that you can work smarter, not harder. Number 9, Someone actually within my program, Alana Fletcher, shared this on her Instagram, this quote, and I really love it. She said, "What you repeat, you strengthen." And she was, I think, quoting someone else. And this is so true of so many areas of life and business. And so what you repeat, you strengthen. So often we expect to kind of be like, oh, we've arrived before we've even begun, but we don't. We've got to put in the miles, we've got to put in the work. We've got to do the reps. So, this applies to designing, styling, building websites, creating emails, sharing on socials, sharing your face on social media, selling, hiring a team, building a business, and making your dreams possible. What you repeat, you strengthen. The more that you write emails, the better you will get at writing emails. The more time you spend creating content for social media and sharing on social media, the better you will get at that. The more time you spend on designing spaces, the better you will get at that. You become second nature, and you get into that flow state, and you get so much better. But you've got to put the time in. You've got to put the effort in, and you've got to know that it's a journey. We can't expect, with so many people out there selling like instant results. And really, it's just, yes, there are some things that you can do in smart ways, but it takes time. Building a business takes time. It is worth it, but it takes time. Number 10, simplicity scales. This is something that is a constant goal in my life. And it is something that I find it very easy to just keep putting more and more things on my plate. And I'm constantly telling myself that if I put something on my plate, I need to take something else off my plate. I can't just keep loading things up. It's very easy to kind of keep creating, like, I'll do this new business idea and this new product, and I'll do design that space, and let's move house again, and let's do this, and all of these things. And so it's so easy to keep adding to your business, but focus on what works. That goes back to the data piece. You need to know your numbers, and you need to look at the data and focus on what's working for you, and get rid of the stuff that's not working and do more of that. It's the 80-20 Pareto principle. I'm not going to explain it because I always stuff it up, but you get the idea, don't you? You want to focus on those areas of the business that are giving you the biggest results, the 20% of your business that generates 80% of your income. Focus on that and get rid of the rest. Honestly, trust me, less but better. It is true of home. It is true of life. It is true of business. So many things, less but better. It is my mantra. And, create systems so that you're not going backwards and forwards with clients and customers, that you are really simplifying your business in every element, in every area, from your systems to your processes, the way that you work, the way that you do business, because that is what is ultimately going to create a business that you love. Well, that has been my experience, at least. And I hope that this has given you some encouragement. It's given you some more clarity and focus. So let's quickly go over the 10 again. Number 1 is to step into your authentic power. In other words, be you, be yourself. Number 2, know that there is a need in the market. We can have all the best ideas and intentions in the world, but if there is not a need in the market, if people are not knocking at your door for that solution, or knocking on other people's doors, and you can see that there's a proven market for it, then maybe it's time to look at another idea. Number 3, know and understand the whole picture of your business idea. It's really important that you know and understand all the different elements of running your business. It's not just the creative part. Yes, that is part of it, but you need to know and understand what's involved in all the other areas, and how are you going to solve and, address those other parts of your business, because that will determine the type of business that you're going to create. Focus on the person you're helping. That is number 4. So like I said, for me, when I'm getting too much in my head, I really focus on you. I focus on, how can I help you? How can I share what I've learned so that it's valuable to you? and you don't have to go through the struggles that I'm going through. And if I'm worrying about what other people think about me, like who is she to give a business advice, or who is she to do X, Y, and Z, then I think, no, like I've learned some stuff, and I want to share it. For those of you who want to learn, I'm here to share. So I really hope that that's helpful for you. Number 5, know your numbers. It is so important to really have goals, financial goals and financial, markers for your business, so that you can know, like, okay, if we're hitting this point, it's time to turn around, or it's time to do something different. That you've got clear markers and indication points in terms of what you're doing with your business. Number 6, make data-driven decisions. Yes, it's important to be in alignment and, make decisions partly from what feels good in your heart, but you also need to make decisions from your head as well. So, you need to make those data-driven decisions, and that will give you so many of the answers that you need to know. Number 7, find your people. It is so important to connect with others who are on a similar path to you. You can do this through community, through collaborating, through making connections. You will grow, and it will be so less painful. It can be really lonely sometimes running your own business. And when you connect with others, you're not alone. Number 8, work smarter, not harder. Look at the ways that you can simplify your business, batching your work, theming your days, hiring help, educating yourself, getting a mentor. Number 9, you repeat what you strengthen. I love that idea. Remember that you repeat what you repeat, you strengthen. So you get better at what you do repeatedly. It's a process. You've got to put in the hours. You've got to put in the reps. You've got to do the work. I'm always saying do the work. Number 10, finally, simplicity scales. If you want to grow a business that is in alignment with the life that you want to live, simplicity scales. Focus on the part of your business that's making the most money and do more of that, and really simplify the rest. I hope that you found this helpful. This is episode 191. Please let me know in the comments on Instagram or in the review section here. If you are listening for the first time, I probably should have said this at the start. I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome. And if you're a long-time listener and have yet to leave a review or a 5-star rating, I would love to hear from you. You can always send me a message on Instagram at Natalie Walton. But like I said, this is episode 191. Would love to hear from you. Hope it's been helpful, and hope you have a great week.
All of the links and info for this episode are at nataliewalton.com/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can get a direct download of the latest episode. And I really appreciate when you take a minute to rate and review, as well as share the love with someone you know who might benefit from this episode, or on social media. If you'd like to access a range of free resources, come visit my website, nataliewalton.com. Thank you to Jaeger Media for producing this podcast. And I would also like to acknowledge the people of the Bundjalung Nation where it was recorded, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I look forward to connecting again soon. I'm Natalie Walton, and you've been listening to Imprint.